Before you guys listen to the stories, could you please help support us by liking and subscribing to this new channel? Most of you watching aren't subscribed, so please help us grow. We really appreciate it. Now on to the stories. Imagine this, I'm cruising down this pitch-black road in the middle of nowhere, jamming out to some tunes in my ride. Wasn't in no rush, so I skipped the boring highway. Out here I can chill and drum solo on my steering wheel without nobody judging. As I round a bend, my headlights catch someone trudging on the side of the road up ahead. Some girl looking rough with wild hair and tattered clothes, lugging this huge backpack that's practically busting at the seams. My first thought is, oh heck no, I ain't picking up no hitchhiker. Everybody knows they 180 from nice to psycho killer real quick. But as I get closer, I realize she just looks straight up exhausted, you know. Eyes on the ground, shoulders sagging. She doesn't even glance over at me rolling up on her. I hesitate for a minute, debating whether to stop. She seems pretty harmless, probably a student needing some help. Against my better judgment, I finally tap the brakes and let her into the passenger seat. Still not a peep from her as she loads that overstuffed bag in and gets settled. I try to make friendly combo, but she stays mum, eyes facing forward the whole time. Pretty odd if you ask me. We drive on in silence for a few miles except for the radio still cranking my road trip playlist. I bob my head along, sneaking a couple glances at my mystery rider, but she's stiff as a statue, just staring ahead into the pitch dark night. Between the shadows and her cap pulled low, can't even really make out her face. She could be anywhere from 20 to 40 honestly. Now I'm really starting to get weird vibes though. I ask if she needs any food or extra cash for a room for the night. She gives the slightest shake of her head and says nothing. Weirder still, I swear the temperature's dropping by the minute in here. I blast the heat, but it barely makes a dent. And weirdo hitchhiker girl doesn't react at all, hands still stuffed in the pockets of her threadbare sweater. At this point, all my alarm bells are going off. Something just feels mad wrong about this chick. I ask again, real clear and loud, if she needs anything or wants me to pull over. All I get is cold, stony silence. Heartbeat in my ears, I slowly turn toward her, already knowing deep down that I won't like what I see. The seat beside me is empty. No sound, no feeling of motion, no sign anyone was ever even there, except for that big old backpack still slumped on my floor mats. It takes a minute for it to really hit me that my passenger straight up vanished into thin air. I peel out of there quick fast, adrenaline flooding my system. Whip it into the nearest small town just as the sky starts turning gray in the east. Took me miles to stop tripping out over what happened. I keep playing it over and over in my head. Maybe I imagined the whole thing, or it was some kind of waking dream. But that lingering chill that settled into my bones tells me different. Pretty sure I ferried some troubled spirit down those lonesome midnight roads last night. Not an experience I'll be forgetting anytime soon, that's for dang sure. Gives me the creepy crawlies just thinking about it now after the sun's been up for hours already. But you know what? I believe that phantom hitchhiker girl wanted some company, even if just for a little while. And maybe she's found some peace now that somebody showed her a little kindness before she disappeared again. Wherever she was coming from or going to out there in the night, at least my passenger seat gave her a rest stop on the journey. I'm rolling solo down this pitch-dark country road late at night, radio cranked to keep me awake. Ain't another living soul in sight, or so I think. Checking the rear view out of boredom, I spot a pair of headlights way back. Weird though, those beams look close. Too close for the speed limit out here. I tap my brakes to widen the gap. But the lights stay locks on me, unblinking. I chalk it up to some Yahoo tailgater, speed up a bit to pull ahead, but oddly enough, the twin eyes behind me seem to accelerate in perfect sync. Still glued the same distance as before no matter how fast I go. A nervous tingle runs up my arms. Who rides someone's bumper out here in Nowheresville? I take my foot off the gas, dropping back to crawl speed. Those relentless lights, however, continue hovering without pause. My pulse picks up at the strangeness. Time to lose this weirdo. I downshift and whip a hard right down the first dirt road I see, sending up plumes of dust. Checks reveal though, yup, still right there. Impossibly gaining ground around each curve. Perfectly mimicking my path. This dust-obscured dance continues no matter the evasive lines I slice. Sweat drips as scenarios rage through my brain. drone stalker sent by Vindictive X, some glitching self-driving tech on the fritz, or a gaslighting game where the driver waits for signs of panic before striking. I pass sparse dark houses tucked in the brush-lined route. Part of me wants to pull in somewhere seeking help, but trepidation about revealing my destination holds me back. None of my choices seem great under the shadow of this unknown pursuer intent on tracking my every move for obscure reasons. Their obscured identity somehow feels more sinister than open aggression. At least predictable visibility limits options. But against stealth design's obscured save twin unblinking eyes floating through dusk clouds, how does one protect themselves? I experiment with kill switches, high beams, wipers on, hazards. Nothing dissuades that relentless stare boring through my back glass. Only the separation stays locked as if by magnetic force. Swerving onto a highway entrance ramp, I gain acceleration and distance headed toward civilization. A semi roars past in the opposite direction. I crane my neck watching its taillights shrink behind me with relief. Seeking comfort in the glowing indicators of normal traffic rhythm steadies my rattled nerves. Just another string of red and white lights fading obediently into the distance at predictable speeds, governed by logical rules of traffic flow and physics. When suddenly those familiar bloodshot beams crest the rise ahead, weaving lanes to fall in behind my vehicle once more. Persistent, untiring, inexplicable. We continue this unnatural waltz through small towns and open roads. My terror becomes tempered by confused curiosity and wariness with time. While maintaining a cushion of distance, the twin red eyes follow for miles before finally dimming as I reach city outskirts many hours later. Pulling in my driveway at last, I slump in the seat as adrenaline seeps away. Lingering unease wars with embarrassed suspicion over my own imagined drama. Inspect the empty night road through the windshield, hoping for evidence of this brush with the unexplained. Of course, only my own exhausted face blinks back at me in the glass, palms braced for stability on the steering wheel. The smooth blacktop unfurls untraveled behind me, but way back past the last bend, for a fraction of a second, I swear I still glimpse. Nothing at all, just daylight struggling to erase the dark. Cruising down a pitch-dark road by my lonesome, I dial up my favorite radio station to keep me company on this long haul. The familiar host's friendly banner fills the air as I drum along on the steering wheel. Just me, the open road, and the comforting glow of the dashboard guiding my way through the night. Or so I think. In the middle of a song, the reception suddenly dies. Static bursts from the speakers and fits and starts. I smack the dash, tweaking the dial to regain the signal. The static rips louder now, interspersed by weird warbling and disjointed noises. Almost rhythmic, like chance tries to push through. The hairs on my arms prick up. I keep fiddling with dials, but it's no use. The transmission continues trickling, more crazy and invasive. Strange voices seem to rise and fall as if from far away, though no actual words come through. My thumbs flip between presets hoping for clarity, heart rate notching higher the longer this interference drags on. But every station plays the same off-kilter mix now. That insistent rattling pulse increasing in intensity, augmented by wails and groans of unnatural tones. An acrid burnt smell seeps from the vents, but no smoke or electrical shorts appear. It's like the ghost of a destroyed radio station orbits my antenna, determined to broadcast regardless. I finally stab angrily at the power button, cutting off the oral assault. In the abrupt silence, my strained breathing sounds harsh and too fast. The utter quiet almost worse than the mounting auditory disturbance. It leaves space for imagination to supply worse theories. I peer uneasily into the dark woods flanking the road, feeling suddenly hyper-visible through my windshield. Unable to bear the isolation any longer, I jab the radio back on. Even dead air would provide some semblance of company. Instead, the transmission roars back to life, louder and more warped than before. A laugh track plays, though no humor comes through. Only unsettling giggles that seem to synchronize with my speedometer fluctuations. Nails on a chalkboard send my teeth grinding as equally grating voices pipe up. They almost sound as if they're commentating on my journey, remarking on mile markers I pass and turns taken as if narrating a twisted road trip. I clench the wheel, torn between curiosity and repulsion at this phenomena seeming to emerge from the radio itself. The longer I listen, the more an eye-watering sense of being studied from multiple angles sinks under my skin. It's ridiculous on the surface, just faulty equipment picking up bleed from some pirate transmission. But my instincts screamed louder of hidden observation. The electronic invasion, some advanced harbinger of whatever comes next. I cranked the volume further despite deep primal warnings to turn back. A blast of garbled syllables hits my eardrum like a released pressure valve. For a split second, familiar words chop through the morass. My own name, crystal clear, followed by a string of numbers almost like coordinates. My pulse stutters at hearing personally identifiable information weaponized through the airways by an unknown force. Wrenching the wheel, I pull off on the muddy shoulder. The radio knob spins furiously between my thumb and forefinger, severing connections in brusque clicks. Silence drops once again, but now it feels sentinel-like. My mind races interpreting what combination of wire crosses could birth such an ominous broadcast. Darting eyes scan the darkness pooling beyond trees and fences, seeking the originating point of those layered watching voices. Seeing nothing besides rural calm barely contains the scream building in my chest, but filled with an urgent need to escape whatever originated that radio seance, I peel onto the pitted dirt access road before me. Tires churn a reckless tempo into the night as I flee the inexplicable transmissions promising things heard that could not possibly have listening ears. At least, none that current science accepts or understands based on rules I learned. But science also once claimed mysteries now daily understood phenomena. Makes me wonder sometimes if we're all just interpreting different transmissions according to our current capacity, fiddling with dials trying to find the proper frequencies. Maybe I inadvertently tuned to previews of channels awaiting wider reception. Here's hoping more development lets me change the station next time interference overrides the comforting waves I prefer floating on.